Yeah, hello, this is Dave from cheapbooks.com playing World of Tanks. I'm going to give you a run-through of today's video. We're going to cover hit-and-run tactics with the T-49, some sniping positions, the firefighting cruise skill, use of HE rounds, general tactics, spotting positions. We're going to have some full games relating to spotting. I'm going to do a video about the 357 matchmaking and how it's broken, and we're going to do some SPG tactical videos. So on to the videos. This tank is a T-49. This is an American Tier 9 light tank. The map is Swamp. We're going to see an initial spotting run on the enemy team, and then we're going to see some hit and run on some tank destroyers. One thing that you need to know about hit and run tactics, most enemies are only a sucker once. It's rare that they can be a sucker a second time shortly thereafter. So once you get your first hit and run shot in, you got to go after somebody else. The good thing about derp guns is they have a long reload, and because they have a long reload, it gives you a long time to confuse the enemy. You'll disappear for a while before you come back. So I go here and I do my initial spotting run. You can see that there's not a lot of enemy tanks over here. And our team did not go to the west side, and there's a chance that maybe there's going to be a lot of enemy tanks on the west side. We don't know yet. And I came around to this location hoping to spot some tanks on the west side, of which I was able to spot one, which is the Conqueror. So now I did my initial spotting run just to give some intelligence for my team. Now I'm going to start looking for a target. I got 1,200 spotting damage on that ISU, and he's out of the game. I'm already up to 1,500 spotting damage just from driving around. So now I see that there's an M41, and I know that there's maybe 2 STRVs. Well, I know because there they are, right? And they didn't look like they were pointing their guns at me. So you see I took a shot at one of them, and I did 565 damage. But it's like I said, they're never a sucker a second time, so you only get one shot. This tank is a T-49. This is an American Tier 9 light tank. The map is Swamp. What you're going to see here is obviously a little bit of spotting, and you're going to see some hit and run tactics, which I like to use with the T-49. T-49 has a very powerful gun depending on how you equip it. And you can do 1,000 damage per shot or even more. But a typical shot might be 750 damage with this gun. If you go after vulnerable tanks, try to hit them on the rear or the side, or go after lightly armored tanks such as SPGs. But why would an SPG be in a vulnerable location? Okay, so we got this M41 Bulldog, and he's my target. Going up here to spot, you notice that all the enemy tanks are grouped up in one location while my team has spread out. But I still know that that M41 is there, and he's a target for me. Now, the reason why I stopped is because the enemy was so grouped together that I knew that my team would not be able to snipe at any of them. The enemy didn't have vulnerable positions. Maybe I got there a little bit too early. That was a stupid decision. Obviously, I fired. It was a sloppy shot because I'm playing with 120 millisecond ping time. I use the auto aim, and the gun was not tracked in time. So basically, what happened is I locked the auto aim. But I didn't wait for the gun to come around a little bit, so I screwed it up. And I haven't been playing World of Tanks for a couple of months or a couple of weeks. I've got computer problems that I need to fix. So my next target is that M41. I'm going to go see if I can find him. There he is. $774 damage. And now you got to just run away. And obviously I'm going to get away from these guys. And then you just repeat that process. We're going to show you, there's going to be other games where I do the same thing. This tank is the ISU-122S. This is a Russian Tier 7 tank destroyer, and the map is Ensk. I'm going to show you a sniping position that I like to use on this map. This sniping position is best played when you have a tank that has a strong derp gun on it. And the reason why is because my gun will do a lot of damage, and you're going to get spotted from this position. I've played it many games, and I always get spotted. It's rare that I don't get spotted. There's lots of bushes, and you'd think that you wouldn't get spotted, but I always do. So what happens is, because you get spotted, having a long reload time is actually an advantage, because while you're reloading, the enemy will forget about you. And if you sit there with a short reload, they're going to keep on focusing on you, and you're not really going to be as effective. So I'm going to pull into the sniping position. There's actually a couple of them. There's 3 or 4 different sniping positions that you can use. You basically line up over here, and from here it doesn't matter if they spot me. They're not going to shoot at me. And I'm going to wait for somebody to come across that open gap. I did get spotting damage on that Mauerbrecher. The Mauerbrecher, he's a novice player. We're going to go have some fun with him later. Okay, so my team has advanced. And because my team has advanced, I didn't take any shots down the line over there. I was able to get some damage on that tank, but I wanted to show you that position. And how smart do you think that VK is? Do you think he would reverse again while I'm reloaded? Now the Mauerbrecher, he's going to have his own dysfunction that we will see soon. Normally I would fire faster, but because I had an ally there, I wanted to make sure that my shot doesn't accidentally hit my ally. So I had to take a little bit longer to aim in. So you'll notice that the Mauerbrecher, that very well armored tank, is not in a great position. He's pointing his gun in my direction, or he was, so I had to reverse. Score is 9-3. Nice to meet you. Well, that wasn't so great. But as you can see, the Mauerbrecher, he's not playing very well. He must not be a good player. There was a beautiful artillery shot coming across. This tank is the Foch 155. This is a French Tier 10 tank destroyer. The map is Live Oaks. I'm going to go to a spotting position and a sniping position. And I'm going to show you how to snipe along a road on the approach to town. If you look at the diagonal line on the mini-map, you're going to see that I just crossed. There's a diagonal road that it's pointing at. And I'm going to go to that diagonal road, which is the B4 area. And I'm going to snipe at tanks as they're entering town. And there's good reasons why you want to be here. You can snipe as they make their approach into A5 and A4, and you can snipe at them as they enter A3. So this is good if you've got a fast tank destroyer with strong frontal armor. You can get here quickly enough. Now the first thing you got to do is you got to line up into the perfect spot. Don't worry about, you do have to position perfectly. So first of all, you have to line up into the certain spot because there's a lot of stuff in the way over here. And you notice that there's a gap over here. And this is the gap that you're going to be shooting through. But second of all, you can also shoot down this road over here. For example, when the Type 4 Heavy makes it through this gap over here, you can hide at the corner of this house, and you can shoot at his front wheel before his gun even comes around the corner, and you can track him and take shots at him. The only problem with being in this position is that if a tank sneaks through without you noticing, he could easily show up in these houses over here and take a shot at you. So really the safer position is to be back a little bit further. So for example, a tank like a T110E4 or a T110E5 could sneak into this city without me knowing, take a shot at me. So you want to find that opening and wait for tanks to appear through the gap. And again, remember, I'm too close, which... So as you can see, I was able to penetrate that tank, but I also took a shot from that T110E5 that showed up. I'm a little bit too far forward. I need to go a little bit further back. And unfortunately, the T-34 is going to disappear, and my shot's going to go a little wild. So that's the position. And again, you'll see that the Type 4 Heavy showed up over here. You can see that he's right over there where I have him highlighted. So there's a third position if they go on the middle road on the A row that you can also snipe over there also. So you got a lot of different options. And this is the house that you're going to use for cover when you're hiding or reloading, etc. Or you can go into the dip over here if you need to escape. This tank is a Jag Tiger 8.8. It's a German Tier 8 tank destroyer, and the map is Lakeville. You're going to notice that I don't use a fire extinguisher. And the reason why is because for most of my tanks, except for the ones that catch on fire frequently, for example, if they have a front engine, I rarely catch on fire. It's like 1 out of every 50 games. So why spend the money on a fire extinguisher? I would rather carry two repair kits and a first aid kit or fuel additive or something like that. So that's the reason why I don't carry a fire extinguisher. It's very important to have 1 or 2 tanks sniping from the middle. Oops. Okay, so you can see that I was set on fire, and I was at full health. I took 323 damage from the Lorraine 40T, which brought me down to less than 1,000 hit points, and then I did 369 fire damage. Normally, if I had caught on fire, my vehicle would have caught completely on fire and exploded, and I would have died without a fire extinguisher. But the reason why I didn't is because I have firefighting crew skills. There are 6 crew members, and the way it's computed is it takes an average of your 6 crew members. I do not have them at 100%. I have them more or less around 45% averaged out among my crew members. There's 2 at 100%, and there's 1 at 85%. And out of 6, that averages to around 45%. So having 45% of my total firefighting skill, I was able to survive the fire from full health. And if you watch my previous videos, you'll know that you only need 1 firefighter at 100% and you will survive, albeit with only 100 hit points to spare. So the point that I'm making from this video is you should try to get 1 firefighter up to 100% if you want to worry about fire damage from full health. And if you get half, around 45 to 50% of your firefighting crew skills, you will take some damage, but not enough to kill you. So you can actually survive without the firefighter, without the fire extinguishers, and use that slot for something else, which is what I did. Now, you're going to see a lot of games where people complain about a particular tank going in the middle road. Like people say, oh, you're a heavy tank, you shouldn't go in the middle road, etc. Don't listen to that. Very, very important that you have at least 2 tanks in the middle road. And the reason why is because from the middle road, you can snipe at tanks that are in the town. First of all, you want a heavy tank to defend against light tanks. Any light tank that comes up here, if you have a heavy tank, you're going to be able to deal with them and take them out of the game. And the second reason why is because once the enemy starts to advance into the town, depending on where you're positioned on the middle road, you've got sniping shots where you can aim into the middle road and you can help your team out. Ah, that was a lousy shot. So I got up to 687 damage and 931 spotting damage. I'm pretty sure that there actually is a tank there. Now there's certain positions that you have to be in order to be able to snipe into that middle area. Once the middle road is cleared out, you can take any position you want and you can snipe into that middle area. For example, you'll notice that there's a VK tank and an IS that have advanced into town and they're threatening my team. And now you can see that the IS-6 and the VK-100 have left the town along with the KV-4. But what they're unaware of is I can take shots at them. Their guns are going to be pointed away from me. Eventually they'll figure it out. Now he's got to hide behind that building to avoid my shots. So I was able to do about 500 damage. Oh, that would be beautiful. That KV-4. So the VK is out of the game. They only had to hit him once. And I'm able to help out with the KV-4. A little too late. Now, this is obviously sniping at tanks after they've already left the town. However, you can shoot at the tanks when they're still in town. And like I said, you have to find, there's four or five different sniping positions where you can line up shots into the town. Lucky shots I'm getting here. KV-4 is out in the open. Now he's dead. So it's a little bit closer of a game. We're still losing, but not by so much. You think that T-54 is going to come out in the open? That's too bad. Okay, so obviously this was a losing game, but the reason why I wanted to show you the game was because of the firefighting skill. I wanted to demonstrate what it's like when you have some firefighting crew skills. And I wanted to show some of the sniping. Unfortunately, we weren't able to show you any of the sniping into town. I'll show that in my other videos, perhaps in the future or in my previous videos. But you were able to see that I was able to hit a lot of tanks. I did 1,800 damage in this game, 1,200 spotting damage. Now, before the enemy had left the town and was heading north, I had only done around 800 damage, I believe. So I was able to add on a lot of damage just by sitting in this position. And this is not the best position. So don't complain when you have a teammate in the middle road. It's a very important position, and someone should be doing it. This tank is a Centurion 7/1. This is a British Tier 9, I believe it's a medium tank, and the map is Prokhorovka. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the South Hill. I'm gonna drive across the map, go around the cap, go into that lower level where the water is, where that gorge is. I'm gonna spot the South Hill, and I'm gonna have a few hiccups along the way, but I have had successful games doing this maneuver, but the problem is when they upgrade the client, the old replays don't work, so I can't show you any of those replays. And I've been wanting to show this for a long time, and I'm tired of postponing it, so I'm going to show you this replay, and you're going to see how I did it in this game, and I'm going to explain to you what I did wrong and what I did right, so that when you try it, you can do it also. This is a very difficult maneuver, and it takes a lot of practice to get it right, especially when you play in the higher tiers. But it does work, and you can surprise the enemy. Basically, the first screw up that I'm going to do is I'm going to flip my tank over in about 5 seconds, which is a really dumb thing. You know, it happens in the game. But basically, there's one of those dead tanks in front of me. It's hidden. It's right in front of me, and I accidentally drove over it right there. So I flipped my tank over. And I pressed the letter Z on the keyboard, and it pulls up a little menu. And when you pull up that, first I had to type a message saying I'm on my side, because if you just say you need help, nobody's going to come help you. Then I press the letter Z, and a little menu comes up, and then you can click on the help option, and it blinks the SOS, and someone on my team, I believe it's going to be an E50, is going to come and flip me. But we're going to skip through it. Okay, there. He's already flipped me. Now watch what I'm going to do. Once you go in, it's very difficult to get out. I've never been able to get out. So don't assume you can get out once you go in. The good news is the E50 that flipped me, he's coming in with me, but he's going to play smarter than me. Now, when you get to this position, this is the key position. It's right here at this point. I'm going to stop it. From here, you can spot what's on the rails, and you'll notice that there's no tanks on the rails over here. Typically, you'll get tank destroyers on these rails. And what you can do is you can go over to this ridge. You can see it's actually, the slope is pretty good. And you can shoot at tanks along that ridge, and you can spot SPGs. You can see that the SPG over here is already dead. Perhaps I was the one that spotted it. No, I did not spot it. But I could have easily had spotted that SPG. I would have spotted it once he fires his gun simply by being in this position. You can see that the E50 is right behind me. Now, the other thing you want to do is if you go low, you got to be careful because the water can be deep and you can start drowning. You'll notice that there's some bushes in key locations. So the bush over here, this bush right here, is a good bush to roll into, and this is a good bush to roll into because you want to spot those tanks up on that cliff. The best case scenario is you spot the tanks, you proximity spot them, your allies shoot at them, everything works out happy. Worst case scenario, one of the tanks dives over the edge. Maybe he's a higher tier than you are, or he's got stronger armor, so he dives over the edge and he tries to duke it out with you. Worst case scenario, two tanks come over the edge. One of them an E3, an E4, or an E5. So I screwed it up. I went too far. What I should have done, you can see that the enemy tank immediately came over the edge, and I did already get 417 spotting damage. The action went pretty quickly. The spotting damage was on that SPG. So it was on the SPG, and oh no, there's another SPG. So the first SPG I did not get the spotting damage on, but I spotted a second SPG I did get the spotting damage. So he immediately came over, which is usually kind of rare. Normally there's a little bit of a delay before they come over. The E50 did not advance. Maybe he took a hit, I don't know, but he did not advance. What I should have done is only come over enough to spot somebody, and then I should have retreated. So now that I'm in this situation, I have little choice but to fight with him. Now you might say, why do you have little choice? And the reason why is because if you don't, his allies are just going to shoot down at you. So in order to be in a good position, you either have to reverse or you have to get closer to the side of the hill, which also allows you to proximity spot them. And I am hoping that I'm going to get some proximity spotting in. I was able to proximity spot to get that SPG killed, so he's now out of the game. But you'll also notice that the T110E5 is now also coming in after me. And I did screw this up. I did not use my repair kit. I'm not in a good position. My shots ricocheted. I used the auto aim when I could have gotten the shots better without. That was a mistake. I went under the water. I believe that by going under the water, I disabled my gun, and I wasn't able to fire my gun. I forgot that you cannot fire when you're under the water. I should have reversed in order to get my shot in, so I missed my last shot. So I bumbled it. I screwed it up. But I did do 878 damage and 450 spotting damage. I did get that one spotting kill. And you'll notice on the hill that my team has advanced towards the enemy tanks. So now they have half of the hill is in a position where they cannot support the enemy. We've got 2 tier 10s going up, an 8 and a 9. The 8 is easily going to be taken out of the game. The VK has less hit points. And you'll notice that they have less hit points, probably because I made this maneuver. I didn't get the spotting damage for the damage done to those tanks, because what happens is when I go near them and they fire their guns, if another one of my allies sees their gunfire, then they get spotted by my ally also. So you don't get the spotting damage when they fire their guns, because everybody suddenly spots them. I spotted them when they didn't fire their guns, when they were trying to hide. And nobody shot at them during that time, so I didn't get any spotting damage. They must have taken that damage after they fired their guns and were spotted by my other teammates. Or maybe they already had the damage when I rolled in, I'm not sure. But this is a maneuver that you can use to advance your team across the hill. So remember what I said, it's something that you have to practice. I would say that my success rate is less than 50%. You're going to succeed more in the lower tiers. You usually have to worry about a tank destroyer over here. You're going to find the SPGs. And my advice is don't cross over this gap. Now, you're going to ask, why is it that I fail and stupidly keep on doing it? The reason why is because they changed the map. When I first started doing this, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, the map was a little different. And because it was different, it was really easy to go in, and I could just hide and nobody cared. But now that they changed the map, and I don't play very often anymore, and I try to play light tanks, I have to relearn the maps, and you have to modify the techniques. And remember that once you go in, you're committed to it, because you cannot get back out by heading back north. If you go through all of my older videos, perhaps you'll find an example of this in one of my older videos in the past 2 years. I don't know. But I'm going to try to do this maneuver more often so you can see more in the future and learn from my mistakes. This tank is the AMX CDA 105. This is a French Tier 8 tank destroyer. The map is Prokhorovka in encounter mode. When I play on encounter battles, if it makes sense to, I try to cap right away. And this is one of the maps where it makes sense to cap right away. And the reason why is because there's nothing between you and the enemy and the cap. There's nothing between you and the cap, and the enemy is unlikely to find you early in the game. So you want to get that timer running. And the reason why is you want to force the hand of the enemy team. You want to force the enemy to have to take an action that isn't well thought out, something irrational. So what I do is I find a certain location. I'm not sure exactly where it is, because this is one of the spots that I go to. But maybe I don't set it up properly. Okay, maybe you have to knock the tree down in a certain way. When you knock the tree down in a certain way, you get really good double bushed cover. But if you don't knock the tree down properly, it seems like the wrong spot. So make sure you knock the tree down exactly the way I did it. And you can sit here, you can snipe, you can move forward to spot enemy tanks, and you're running the cap timer, which means that some of the enemy tanks are going to have to abandon their positions to come looking for you or to get on the cap. And when they get on the cap, they might not be in a good sniping position. They might be just sitting there, and I'm a low tier tank. You might end up getting a higher tier tank with a powerful gun sitting on the cap doing nothing. So it's really a good strategy. And not only that, my allies might spot the enemy as they're trying to approach the cap and might pick them off on the way there. So there's a lot of reasons why you want to sit on the cap right from the start of the game. I'm already at 35%. Don't listen to your allies that say no fast cap. Just ignore them. I have no intention of winning by capping. What my intention is to make the enemy team behave irrationally, which they are going to do in this game, and take advantage of whatever I can. Oh, that was a lousy shot. This is a wonderful tank. It was totally worth buying. Another good thing about this position is if you get spotted, usually you don't have to worry about incoming fire. You only have to move a little bit. You know, nobody's going to shoot at me. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but I'm saying that it's really easy to deal with if you get spotted. There is solid cover nearby. Now notice where the enemy T-54 showed up. That's where the enemy goes to counter the cap. And fortunately, I'm in a position where I can fire in his direction and prevent him from engaging in battle. And hopefully we'll see some action against the tanks in that area. Don't you hate it when you just can't grab that little pixel? Okay, so you can see what the houses and the bushes look like over here. Perhaps there's another position. Now you see where that T-54 is? Look at where all I have to do is aim through those buildings. Maybe there's a wall in the way. That's all I got to do is aim in that direction and I can shoot at that T-54. I'm going to pause the game. Now, basically, the situation is, this is a great location, absolutely. You have to be in that bush. Second of all, even though I can shoot at that T-54, you don't want to be spotted. He's going to be proximity spotted as long as you have allies in that center area, of which I no longer have any. They're gone now. And he will be spotted by my allies up here, such as the Centurion. Now, in this position, I can't spot him anymore unless I move forward. And the mistake that I made was either that I was too far forward, or perhaps he was taking blind shots into the emptiness and I allowed it to hit me. And what I should have done was moved over to the left behind the building, and maybe he wouldn't have seen me. But I just wanted to show you that this is the position that I play on in counter mode with almost any tank, a scout tank, a heavy tank, sniper, TD, etc. Obviously, it's great for TDs, and this is a position that you're probably going to want to try when you play on this mode. This tank is the VK101P. This is a German Tier 8 heavy tank, and the map is Steppes. You're going to notice that I have 80 AP rounds, 0 APCR, and I have 40 HE rounds. I carry a third HE rounds on all of my tanks with a few exceptions. And the reason why I don't have APCR is because when I bought this tank, I didn't have any silver to pay for the APCR rounds, so I don't have any. I usually have a third AP, a third APCR, and a third HE. And I only use the APCR if I absolutely need to. Now you might ask, why would you need to use HE rounds? HE rounds are good when you hit the side armor, when you want to hit the side turret, when you want to hit the roof of the turret, when you want to hit the roof of an engine deck, when you want to hit sloped armor such as the EML or the AMX 5100 or the Lorraine 40T, or when you want to hit tanks such as the STRV or the UDES. And you see there's a lot of disinformation about the STRV and the UDES. People are aware that there's something called overmatching. And the way overmatching works is if you have a certain caliber of gun, the round will penetrate if it's beyond a certain ratio of the thickness of the armor. But there's a more reliable way. The more reliable way is to use high explosive rounds against the slope of the UDES and the STRV style tanks. And the reason why is because the HE round has less penetration. This is a regular round, okay, but it doesn't matter. I have not switched to HE rounds yet. The HE rounds have a lower penetration, but it's enough to penetrate the weak armor of the UDES and the STRV. They take advantage of their slope, and they have weak armor, which allows the tank to be faster. However, it's not going to ricochet the HE round. So you see that there's an UDES, and I immediately switched to HE rounds. And he probably doesn't understand that that's what I'm going to fire at him. He thinks I'm going to just ricochet. I actually hit the gun of my ally by mistake. It did 89 damage with an HE round. Obviously, you want to do more than 89 damage. Did 155 damage. And let's see if there's more punishment. And it works against the sloped armor and the side armor. Gotta aim in. 173 damage. So you can see I was able to do quite a bit of damage. I was able to do about 400 damage over 3 shots that otherwise would have ricocheted, depending on which tank and depending on which gun you have. I don't know. I don't know the type of gun that's on this particular tank. I'm assuming it's probably the stock gun. Now the UDES, he's going to run away. And he's going to run away to take up a sniping position, and he's going to try to take advantage of sloping his armor. But it's only going to be effective for so long, because the HE round will always defeat the UDES. I think if I fired HE rounds at these types of tanks a couple hundred times, maybe once it wasn't effective. So I've always been very happy with the results. 169 damage. And I got to reposition my tank to make it safer. And you can see that was 414 damage on that last shot using an HE round. I did probably 1,000 damage total against the UDES using HE rounds. This tank is the Tiger II. It's a German Tier 8 medium tank. The map is Mountain Pass. I'm a low tier tank. There's lots of tier 10s and tier 9s. My gun isn't particularly strong. It's rather weak. So my plan, also there's a lot of hull down positions on this map. So I'm thinking I'm going to spot for my team. I'm going to have to go into the south, take up an advanced position, do some side scraping, hide in a bush, side scrape. As long as nobody fires HE rounds at my side armor, I'll be fine, and I'll get some spotting damage, and I'll help my team defend against the enemy team. You'll notice that my team did not take up advanced positions in the south. So I have an idea of where I'm going to go to already as I'm on my way there. There's a certain rock and bush combination. I have the feeling we're going to see that tank later. Oh no, it's the other VK. So I'm moving into position. I'm going to find a place where I can side scrape. Side scraping works as long as the enemy doesn't fire HE rounds at your side armor. Because the high explosive rounds, your side armor is weak. And the HE rounds can penetrate your side armor and do damage. And they don't ricochet, they explode upon impact. So you'll notice that there's some bushes here. I've got a good side scraping position. That Tiger is stupid. He fired an AP round. It bounced off my side armor. He can't damage me. What's he going to do? So I fired a round at him. I'm firing an HE round at him. I was able to do 74 damage. He's not showing enough of his tank for me to fire an AP round. And he's not smart enough to fire HE back at me. So he's just going to keep bouncing off my side. I can't really get any closer from my team. I'm going to have to take up this position It's probably the best that I can do. I don't fight on this side of the map very often, so I really don't know the layout. I haven't found a good position. There's that Tiger 2 again. Again, you know, he fired an AP round. It just ricocheted, didn't do any damage. He's not going to be able to. I'm smart. I fired an HE round at him. Now, that time he fired an HE round at me. He did 121 damage. And I did 132 against him. Oh, he fired another HE round at me at my side armor. And he did 119 damage. Oh, he fired another HE round at me at my side armor. He did 120 damage. Okay, so he's smart enough to fire HE rounds at my side armor, which means that me side scraping here isn't going to work. And he just fired another one. Eventually, well, he's got at least 4 HE rounds. We don't know how much he has. I came in with 14. He's got at least 5 HE rounds. Again, I have 14. So I'm firing my HE rounds at those tanks that are side scraping. That was only 17 damage, unfortunately. So the point that I was going to make is that fire HE rounds when someone's side scraping. That Tiger hit me 5 times with HE rounds. It's possible that the reason why he stopped may be because he ran out of HE rounds. It's 2-5, and we're way overwhelmed on this side, and eventually the enemy team is going to advance through. So that was 135 damage. That was an HE round that I fired against him, and he bounced against me. You see that angle? You notice the gun is a little bit over the inside trap. Gives you a very good angle. I wish I could show it. I won't be able to show it for you. There's the VK. He hit me with a high explosive anti-tank round, which is why he did so much damage to my tank. If he fired an AP round, he might not have. I did 380 damage with that high explosive round. Okay, so let's review what happened. I guess I can't zoom out. Okay. So I'm a low tier tank in a tier 10, tier 9 game, and I'm a tier 8. Lots of tanks are going to be hull down. If you go to the bridge, they're going to be hull down. If you try to go across a gap in the middle, you're going to get destroyed. I decided to come here, try and do a spotting position. I only spotted 691 damage. The enemy Tiger 2, I did a little bit of damage against his tank. He hit me with 5 HE rounds, did about 500 damage against me. The VK, he fires HE rounds. He did 1,000 damage against me with those HE rounds. KV-4 was not able to penetrate me. I fired HE rounds at the KV-4. My last one did 380 damage, and the one against the VK did 311 damage. So you can do a lot of damage with HE rounds. And that's the point that I am making with this game. And you have to change your playing style when you're bottom tier. This tank is the Ram 2. This is an American tier 5 medium tank, and the map is Fisherman's Bay. This is going to be about what the enemy is going to do. They're going to leave the flank unprotected and undefended. You can see that there's an AMX 1375 in the south of the map, but the flank is mostly undefended, and we're going to take advantage of it. One of the things that I've learned recently, scouting and spotting, you have to be aware of when the enemy leaves a flank undefended, and you have to take advantage of it immediately. If you don't take advantage of it, all of your allies, their guns are not going to fire. They're just going to sit there doing nothing. And the other flank is going to be overpowered. They have most of their team, which is going to be in the town or in the middle of the field. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. We've got 8 tanks or 9 tanks, and plus the RDs on the west side, and we've only got 2 on the east side, and they've got most of their tanks on the east side. So you'll notice that the artillery was vulnerable. He chose the wrong side, and because of that, we're just advancing through, and he has to run away. So that's a big mistake. If you play artillery, don't play on a side that's going to fall easily, even if it's an FV304. There's nothing special about the FV304 that you should play in a stupid position. So I advanced as quickly as I could, as quickly as I was able to determine that the flank was open. Now you have to wait for your team to set up sniping positions, playing as an advanced scout, and you have to set up a spotting position. Oh, so sorry. I'm just going to hit him and run, because I know he's going to die. You know, I'm more concerned about setting up a spotting position. Now, someone is suggesting that we cap. I'm looking for a spotting position. I'm going to pick up one of these bushes over here, go as far as I can go. Now remember, your shot is going to land within that green circle. So if the circle is too big, the chance that your shot goes wild is very high. So I decided to park in this position. I don't think it's necessary for me to spot for my team, because we got a lot of people on our team that are in front of me. So obviously the smart thing to do is to keep on advancing. The score is 11-4. We took advantage of the fact that they left the flank undefended. We surrounded the enemy. We got behind their rear flank and their side flank. Now that was a risky shot, because within my green circle was an allied tank with 3 hit points, which I easily could have hit and taken out of the game by mistake. And that's the game. This tank is the Tiger II. It's a German Tier 8 heavy tank, and the map is Fisherman's Bay. What I'm going to do in this game is I'm going to go to the F2 area, and I'm going to find a little sniping area that will allow me to spot on the west side and also take shots at tanks like this enemy CDC, which was just spotted in the middle of the map. Now the problem with advancing on the west side is that if you've got tanks such as that CDC, not only will they spot you while you're advancing, but they can shoot at you, and you're going to see that I'm going to take a lot of incoming fire. But I'll also be able to shoot back, and that's the key element about this position. There's a lot of bush cover, and if you have a fast tank, this is a slow tank. Because it's a slow tank, it's going to take a long time for me to get there. It's also a very big tank, and because it's a big tank, I'm going to get some incoming shots from off in the distance that I normally wouldn't take. And the other thing that happened was it took too long to get rid of the CDC, so I was never able to. It took too long for me to get into the hiding position. So the CDC, you have to be able to roll up into these bushes over here. You got a bunch of bushes right here. You got to roll into this area without being spotted, but I was already spotted. So it makes no sense for me to go now. And because of my tank's height, not a low-profile tank, it's possible for the enemy to shoot at me, and I didn't take the optimal position. You can see I'm a little bit higher than I should be. I should have been a little bit more to the left. I'm going to try again to move up into the position, but I get spotted again. Now the other thing that you're going to notice is a lot of enemy tanks are spotted on the east side. There's only 2 enemy tanks on the west side, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 allied tanks. So we've got too many allied tanks on the west side, and my team is not going to advance, so it's going to be a problem for this game. So the CDC keeps on spotting me, but what's important is that from this position, I can shoot at him, and I can take him out of the game when he thinks he's safe, and I can spot for my team. So finally he's out of the game. Now I'm going to be able to move into the spotting bush without being spotted, and I'm going to be able to spot the T-10. This is a position that I've been working on, which is why this is not the perfect game. So the T-10 is within my spotting range, and I'm going to sit here. The T-10 is going to show up. I'm going to spot him. My allies are going to shoot at him, etc. You'll notice in town that the enemy team is overpowering our allies in town, and they're going to win that flank. So the T-10 is spotted. He just took a hit, so I got some spotting damage on that T-10. And unfortunately, my allies did too little too late. They should have been aware that the enemy was going to win in town, which is what just happened. And the score is 1-6. And now they're going to pull into a retreating position. And from here, obviously I will be able to do some spotting, but my team isn't going to be able to prevent the advance of the enemy team. So they slaughter us. Let's move on to the next video. This tank is a Centurion 7/1. This is a British Tier 9 medium tank, and the map is Himmelsdorf. I am paused in the game because I have a problem with my computer. That means that I just finally connected into the game. I was AFK, you could say, for the first 25 seconds of the game. So I decided to go forward, and then I changed my mind, came back, obviously. It's very crowded on the 8 column. I like these tanks. The medium tanks, the British medium tanks are very good tanks. You'll hear a lot of people talk about the Cromwell, for example. But I love the Covenanter and the other tanks all the way up. It's obviously when they're stock, they're not as fun. But usually once you get the engine upgraded, they're really fun tanks to drive. You'll also notice that I use the 100 octane fuel or the 105 octane fuel when I play this tank, because I like to get the extra power and the extra mobility. You're going to see an interesting maneuver here. Basically, I was delayed 25 seconds from starting the game. The enemy has won on the hill. I happen to be at the hill. I want to do whatever I can to help out. I'm only going to be able to do so much, and I don't like to abandon my team. There's so many tanks that could easily overrun me. And there's a Tier 9 tank in front of me. For some reason, let me hit him. I took a shot by the artillery. But watch the maneuver that I'm going to do. Watch what they do and watch what I do. Now you see that? He tried to pass me to get behind me. I'm going to show you what's behind me. We've got this T-54E1 behind me. But what I did was I blocked him so that he couldn't get behind me. Very easy thing to do. Let's see if I can... Okay. You'll hear me talk in my older videos about how one of the first important lessons that I had to learn in this game was driving. If you can master the driving skill, then you have a huge advantage in the game, especially if you have a fast tank. and obviously you use the auto aim. And I use the auto aim because I have a high ping time. You can see my ping time is 149 milliseconds. What happens is if you don't do it, the gun will just point all over the place. And I've had crazy games where the gun fires a second after I click the button. You know, things like that happen. It's one of the things I have to deal with because I play internationally. But that was a driving technique. You want to learn these types of techniques and know when to use them, because I'm at an advantage by doing it, because otherwise I would have had tanks in front of me and tanks behind me. And obviously I did die, but that's a technique that you want to master when you play the game. This tank is the AMX CDA 105. This is a French Tier 8 tank destroyer, and the map is Normandy. Overlord. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to get into a nice little spotting position without being detected. Now, obviously, I was detected by the T-54 lightweight, but you're going to see the method that you can use to get into a spotting position and a sniping position. Notice I'm going to take a sharp turn to the left. And look how easily I was able to make it up there. And from here, you can do a little bit of spotting, but you can also do some sniping. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have any lucky shots on any of these tanks in the mid area because I'm not going to be patient enough. I'm going to miss two key shots, one right there, one right there. But notice how easily you can just come around this corner and sneak into one of these bushes. So it's as easy as that. It's easy to make the climb. You can sneak into this whole row of bushes. Let's see how far away. He's 93 meters away. Obviously, it is possible that if your tank is too large, you can be spotted doing this. But it's a very interesting trick that you want to learn as a spotter. This tank is a Scorpion. This is an American Tier 7 tank destroyer. The map is Redshire. I don't like to sit back and snipe. I'm not a sniper, and I'm not that fond of tank destroyers, although I like them more than I did before. But this is a great tank for doing spotting, except for the fact that it doesn't have a very long spotting range. You can see that even with the coated optics, it doesn't make it all the way out to the white circle, which is probably 445 meters. And I do not have binocs on it, but it's something that I would like to get in the future. So what I did was I came out here into the field side. I'm going to go on the east side, and I'm looking for a nice bush to hide in. And there's a couple of different options, and I chose this one right here. Because I have such a small vehicle, I can sit in this bush as long as nobody comes near me like that SU. At some point, someone will come near this position, and I'll have to leave. But it does allow me, you can see there was an artillery shot on that J Panther. It does allow me to spot this side of the field for my team. I did pull back. I didn't pull back in time. But the purpose of this video is to show you a position that you can go to at the beginning of the game if you want to spot on the east side. There's other locations you can use. That's just an example of one of them. This tank is the IKV-9DB. This is a Swedish Tier 7 tank destroyer, and the map is Paris. If you like spotting and scouting, you're going to want to watch this game. I'm going to do some very effective spotting for my team. And it's a new technique that I've been working on. It hasn't been completely refined yet. There's a video that I did in my about a month ago that shows the spotting technique very effectively. Basically what I do is I have a fast tank, 65 kilometers, so I rush across the field to take up a position near the enemy. Now you'll notice that I don't have a very good position. You can see that there's a lot of gaps in my coverage, which is going to come back to haunt me. So remember, if you do it, take up a better position than I did. But you can see that I did spot that SPG, and I spotted the E-25. And we got this VK. Now those tanks, no matter what they do, they're not going to be able to hide because I'm too close to them. So if they try to go up into those bushes, they're going to get spotted. I've got 150 spotting damage. And you want to lock the hull so that your tank doesn't move, because if your tank spins around when it's a tank destroyer, you could get spotted. Actually, I'm not sure if you can or not. but it's always possible. So you can see that my team has shown up in the backfield. The GW Panther left and then he came back. I don't know what move he was trying to do to outwit us, but it really didn't work. You can see that the Comet just went up, and I was able to spot the Comet, even though he's behind the bush. So the Comet is unable to take up a position to fire. So his gun has been suppressed. Unfortunately, he spotted me because, like I said, I was not properly hidden within the bush. The E-25 is unaware of what's going on. That's why you need to have good situational awareness and hide behind anything you can when you're in this position. So there's a T-34-3 who's a threat to me, but I'm going to hide behind this little building until he knocks it down. I'm aware that I'm not going to be able to do any damage to him, so I have to take action, and luckily my team is advancing on the north side at the same time that I'm escaping. Unfortunately, I do not have strong frontal armor. And I have a very long reload, which was a mistake that I made. I was able to get one kill. Got 589 spotting damage. But what's important is that my team easily won the field. Not only did they easily win the field, but they had a very good awareness of where the enemy was. They already knew where they would confront the enemy in the field. The score is 6-6. So I had good situational awareness. I saw that that guy was going to attempt to come after me. So that's the end of the game for me. I did 429 damage, 589 spotting, but it shows you how we were able to easily win in the field. Even though the T-34-3, he's still alive, and we do have our 4 tanks in the field. The enemy is winning the game. We are losing 6-10. But this is a spotting bush that's very useful, and I've only done it twice. This is my second game using the spotting bush, so I haven't had that perfect game yet. This tank is the RU-251. This is a German Tier 9 light tank. The map is steppes. So you're going to see an early spotting technique. Basically what I do is I give it full gas, go straight across the map. You can actually stop at these bushes and turn on the binocs. But once you get past these bushes, you're going to spot everything at the enemy base. And then you just turn to the left into the low area and you should be safe. Now what's interesting about this spotting run is you're going to notice that most of my team is going east and most of the enemy team is going west. And by using this information, you'll notice that some of the people on my team change their direction in order to head for the west, which will lead to a future loss for our team. This tank is the T-29. This is a Russian Tier 3 medium tank. The map is steps. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the middle. I'm going to try and spot whatever I can. And I'm going to gauge whether or not I have adequate sniper support. And hopefully my snipers are going to do as much damage and get as many kills as they can. And now if you watch my videos, you'll know that I equip all of my tanks with coated optics and with the recon and the situational awareness skills and camo, so I can get as much passive spotting damage and as much EXP as possible. Normally what I do is I make it out to this set of rocks over here, let my allies fire at those tanks, and I knock this tree down, and I use it to give myself a little bit of cover. You can see we've got a lot of snipers supporting us in the back, but they're... And they did get one kill on the T-56 GMC. You got to keep respotting those tanks. Another tank down. So I was able to get 2 kills for my team already. And that guy obviously lost half of his hit points. Got 627 spotting damage. You can see that my teammates are also advancing. Obviously what that tank is doing is not very wise. So we got a 3rd kill, and hopefully we'll have a 4th kill soon. And that's 4 kills. So just by going to the spotting position, I was able to get 860 spotting damage, and I was able to help my team get 4 kills. Yeah, this is a T-92. This is an American Tier 8 light tank. The map is Westfield. I am going to get 6 kills. I'm going to do 2,800 damage, and I'm going to complete a mission, LT7, the SPG Hunter, for the Object 260, which will be my final mission for light tanks other than the LT-15. So what you basically want to do is you want to find a nice spotting location in the center. You're going to snipe at some of the tanks as they're heading to the southeast. You're going to locate the enemy light tanks. You're going to chase after them in the town until you kill them. And then you're going to head towards the enemy base, avoiding enemy tank destroyers, find the enemy SPGs and kill them. So when you're over here, you will often get spotted if you try to snipe at enemy tanks. So it happens to me all the time. So be very careful and have an escape plan. I've tried escaping by going the opposite side of the hill towards the bridge, and I've tried also going to town. Going to town is the best option. There could be an enemy light tank meters away from me, and I wouldn't even know it. So you have to be careful. So once all your spots dry up, you have to go to a new location. And be careful because you never know what's in front of you. Once you get spotted, you're going to have a lot of incoming fire. So you got to head to the town. Shoot through the buildings and hit that light tank. Take them out of the game. You want enemy light tanks out of the game because they're going to be your biggest threat. They're going to keep you spotted, and you want to stay hidden. If you stay hidden, you're going to have a huge advantage in the game. So we got to find that light tank and take them out. Shoot through the gaps in the building. So now you can either hunt out the southeast medium tanks, or you can head to the upper level and do a rear flank and help out the upper team, or you can head for the SPGs. But you got to be careful when you go for those SPGs because you might come across some tanks along the way. Allow your allies to help you out as much as possible. Missed that shot, unfortunately. You'll notice that I'm driving to line up my gun with that tank. I predicted where the enemy tank was going to go, and I didn't want to turn my tank around because I thought it would take too long. So I decided to take a route to line up my gun. I'm really good at driving through the buildings and shooting at tanks, so I mean, anybody that I don't think he did any damage to me while we were driving through the town. So I'm very good at that technique. Now we know that there's a Jagdpanzer, the Jagdpanzer 4. There he is, he just popped up. You want your allies to take him out, unless his back is pointing towards you, which he doesn't seem to care. And now it's just open town on their SPGs. Now, in order to complete the LT7 SPG Hunter mission and get my final 2 kills, my 6th kill and the Top Gun, the key is you want to kill them as quickly as you spot them. If you spot both at the same time, you increase the chance that your allied artillery is going to take them out. Your allied artillery is your enemy in this case. So if I spot both I just saw an artillery fire, so I have an idea of where they are. If you see them both in the same spot, you've got to kill them as quickly as possible. Normally you want to ram them. That's one of the few cases where you're going to reverse while driving. I got 2,700 damage, 1,500 spotting damage, and 6 kills. There's one more tank left, which he's going to be right in front of us. We're going to find him real soon. But unfortunately, I'm not going to get the kill. So that's how I completed LT7 SPG Hunter for the... In fact, I think one of my allies is going to damage my tank. An overzealous ally or something like that. It's hard to remember. But that's how I completed the mission. I'm close to having my Object 260. I only need a few more missions left, and I'll have it. I almost killed myself right there. I think I'm going to try and jump on top of him, but I'm going to miss, or it's going to be too short of a duration. It's not going to be meaningful. Yeah, I missed. Yeah, you can see it says that the CDC hit me, and I don't know how he hit me, but that did happen. Okay, so that's the game. Yeah, this is the RU-251. This is a German Tier 9 light tank. The map is Arctic region, also known as the Mannerheim line. I am going to get 5,000 spotting damage and a mark of excellence on this tank. And 5,000 spotting damage is really good. If you watch my previous videos, you'll know that I like to go to a certain bush over here. And it's really just a starting point. I start out over here to try and clear out any enemy tanks that are coming too close towards our side, or to get any tank destroyer snipers. Was able to spot tanks as they're approaching on the east side, but unfortunately we didn't do any damage to those tanks other than 97 points to a Maushan. If you get spotted, you just have to reverse around the rock, and I advise you to do it immediately upon getting spotted. And then go back to the position. And it's going to work. You know, this spotting position, we're going to find some good stuff over here. There's going to be, I believe, an enemy Waffenträger that's going to show up, and he's going to abandon his position. Got 340 spotting damage on the Jagdtiger. The only thing about this position that's not good enough is that you cannot spot tanks in the north. So you have to move forward, which increases your risk. Now, this is a risky game. The reason why it's very risky is because we don't have any allies in the north. You know, it's the AMX 1390 and one other tank, and they're not really in the north. So the enemy tanks are focused on us in the south, and that's not good. So my team did a bad job. Normally what I'm doing is I'm trying to support the north team, but we don't have a north team, so I'm not really supporting anything. And I didn't really realize it. I knew that I was in a bad position, but I didn't realize that the reason why was because my team didn't advance to the north. I didn't have good situational awareness. You know, that's what happens. I haven't played the game in over a month. In about 2 months I haven't been playing. Normally I don't fire the gun, but that's a kill shot. So if I can kill a tank, I'm going to fire the gun. Especially with a guaranteed kill like that. Now I'm aware of where the enemy is located. The Waffenträger left. I feel safe in advancing. You know, I could go all the way up to where the Centurion is and I probably won't be spotted. And this is the route that I take. Oh. That's not good. Once you get low here, you're safe. You know, there's a difficult area that you have to cross over, and that was it. And I did take a hit. So I'm going to go all the way over here to the north, see if I can find that Centurion. The score is 9-4. We are winning. I'm going to get close to the ridge to try and proximity spot him. But unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to find anything when I come up here. If I did, I would try to bait him out, try and get him to come down. And this is when I noticed that the FV 4005 was behind me, which is really good because you want that tank on your side. He's the type of guy you want sniping for you. And I see that the Centurion is far away and the Super Conqueror is right there. I've already got 4,000 spotting damage. I got about 1,500 spotting damage on that Super Conqueror. Score is 12-4. So you can see that the action moved very quickly. And the enemy was unaware that we overwhelmed them on the east side, and they spent too much time. When they saw that the north was not defended by our team, they should have advanced and they should have trounced us. They had better equipment than we had, but they didn't do that. They failed to take that advantage. That's 511 damage, 5,000 spotting damage, mark of excellence. This tank is the RU-251. This is a German Tier 9 light tank, and the map is Sand River. I am going to get 4,500 spotting damage. And I'm going to go to a place where I've gone to frequently over the years. We're going to talk about the good aspects about it, the choices that you have. A few years ago, people used to attack on the east, on the west, through the center, but what happened was they moved the spawns more towards the west. So what happens is the south doesn't defend on the east side very well. So the enemy almost always advances on the east side. What I do is I knock these trees down, and you notice that knocking the trees down may have made my spotting ability, may have reduced my spotting abilities because the trees might be blocking me because they're too far away from my tank. But this is actually a pretty good position. And since most of the enemy team is going to be coming from this direction, unfortunately I was spotted. There's another position. You'll see that there's some trees. There's more trees right in front of me, and those trees in front of me you can also use, which are right over here. You can use this as a spotting position also. As long as nobody comes within proximity spotting distance, I should be fine. But you just sit here. I've already done 901 spotting damage. Watch what that guy does. Look at that. I could easily shoot him. So now what's going to happen is there's tanks in front of me like the ST-1. If they get too close to me, I'm going to get proximity spotted. And look at all those tanks that I'm spotting. And they're going to greatly impact my ability to spot in the field. And the mistake I'm going to make is when I see that the tank starts to come across in front of me, I should roll back so I don't get spotted. But I didn't do that. And I took a chance that I was outside of the 50 meter. Here comes the T-10. And he's oh, well, let's see what happens. I notified my team that most of the enemy is on the east side and most of my allies are on the west side. You can see that they're close to being in front of me. There's a T-10. I should have reversed sooner, but I didn't. Okay, so the point, as you can see, I already did 4,500 spotting damage. And those are 2 spotting positions that you can use on that ridge. You can slow down the enemy advance. You have a lot of snipers. The only difficulty is what happens if someone drives in front of you. Now notice to my left, there's a Centurion, a Conqueror, and maybe a T-57 Heavy. They're in a great position to be there. From that position, they can snipe at these tanks over here. And so if you have 2 players, a second player helping you, you want one where that Conqueror is to try and prevent this tank like a T-10 from driving across here. This tank is the IKV-90B. It's a Swedish Tier 7 tank destroyer. The map is Malinovka. I am going to get 3,000 spotting damage. I'm going to spot 7 tanks. I'm also one of the bottom tier tanks. There's a lot of Tier 9 and Tier 8 tanks in the game. More than half of the team is higher tier tanks. So my gun isn't going to be very effective against them. And therefore, it doesn't make sense to try and snipe. It makes sense to spot for my team. And look at where the 2 allied light tanks are. You see that there's an M41 to the south of me, and there's another light tank. I can't see what type it is. Maybe it's also an M41. They're not in a good spotting position, but I am. I've already racked up 1,300 spotting damage just by moving into this bush. And I'm not going to fire my gun for a while. Got 587 on that Oni, 665 on the Oni, so I'm already up to over 2,000 spotting damage. I really softened up those tanks. The T-30, very important tank. It's very difficult for me to damage an Oni or a T-30, but with spotting, I can damage him by allowing my allies to shoot at him. 2,500 spotting damage in the first minute and a half. So somehow I got spotted. It's a very small bush, isn't very good cover. Just going to go back to the same position. The only ideal position is to be where the enemy spawn is, to be able to shoot at the enemy from behind. Other than that, I can't shoot onto the hill unless there's a rare lucky shot. I mean, you can see the top of that T-30, but if I go into the sniper mode, I won't be able to hit him. The other option is to shoot at the 2 tanks in the field, which might both be J-Panthers, or to be out in the field and randomly snipe at tanks. But there's really no sensible position other than this spotting position. I'm up to 2551 spotting damage. It looks like a tank just got out of the game. And actually, I'm not sure if the enemy light tank appeared in the south. And what happened was that I was preoccupied with the southern team. And I noticed that my ally had died in the south with those J-Panthers. And during this time, I was thinking, is there a way that I could help him out? But I know that any position I take up on this ridge will be outside of my range, which is why I didn't reposition. So at some point, the smart thing to do is to go back to where the AMX 1357 is behind me. And the reason why is because those enemy tanks are advancing towards our base. I have a little bit of coverage over the base, but I really should get more coverage over the base. Haven't spotted much in the past minute. The J-Panther is in a position that I could easily reposition and hit him. I actually kind of enjoy playing this tank. I'm close to getting rid of it. It's possible that I may have already gotten rid of it. So you don't want to be directly on top of the hill. You want to be in the cover and a little bit on the slope side. So if I get spotted, I won't have to worry about incoming fire. That was a lousy shot, obviously. That guy's just going to let me kill him. He's just asking to be shot. And we won 11-3. And the 3,000 spotting damage I did really softened up some of those enemy tanks like the ONI. Another sucker. What's he going to do? He's going to die is what he's going to do. Now obviously I could go chasing after those tanks. I decided to take some lucky shots to see if I can hit him from a distance. But I've got so many teams encircling him. The smart thing to do right now would be to head for the cap. Going to the cap, obviously it puts pressure on the enemy team, and I earn experience points by being on the cap. And if my team does something really dumb and they all go in one at a time and they all die, which can happen, at least we'd have a way out. And that's the game. This tank is the A-44. This is a Russian Tier 7 medium tank. The map is Erlenberg. I saw something in this game that I've never ever seen before, and it gave me an idea for scouting if you have a fast tank. And it involves this Challenger right in front of me. Now you're going to notice that the Challenger and I, we're thinking the same. We're both going to play aggressively in the same location. And the Skoda, look at what the Skoda is doing. He's trying to do the same thing that the Challenger and I are doing. Unfortunately, the Skoda is going to lose out in this engagement. So now we've got the Chinu, the Challenger, and I, and the Hellcat all moving into the center position, which is not very common. But this is the reason why. You want to get shots on those tanks off in the distance there. And because we did this maneuver, some of those tanks are going to die. I had trouble lining up a shot because my gun couldn't fit over that opening. So one of those tanks was already knocked out of the game, which was the BDR G1B. The OI Experimental was also knocked out of the game. So because of our advanced spotting, we got 2 tanks knocked out of the game. Normally I take the position where the Challenger is right now. If I'm spotted, I'm going to show you the alternate position. If you get spotted, you want to be where the Challenger is. You got a bush to hide in, and you got solid cover. If you make it here and nobody spots you, you want to hide in this outcropping of bushes right here. Over here, you get a better view of that far field, and since they don't see you, they won't shoot at you. Now, because you want to spread out when you're doing your spotting, I'm going to take up a different location, and I'm going to go over here and advance up through the river because I can't advance in the open field, and also because the Challenger is in the spot that I normally take. But wait until you see what he's going to do. It really amazed me, and it gave me a new idea. If you like spotting, you're going to like to see what he's going to do. The other thing you should notice is that half of my team is behind me. And the reason why is because they lined up to take shots on those tanks that we spotted. And we were able to take a couple of those tanks out of the game. I got 850 spotting damage already. And I do have 1 kill. So I'm going to try and advance up the river. But we're going to spot another tank further up the river, which is right there, the VK. I made a mistake. I should have fired sooner. That was my fault, so I missed an open shot on him. Well, I could have easily missed, not being fully aimed. Notice what the Challenger did. The Challenger has advanced all the way up. Look at where he is on the mini-map. He's advanced all the way north, and it makes sense for him to do it because they're not heavily defended. The WZ is going to kill him, but and he took some damage along the way. The enemy is not defending very well. It's very easy, but it gave me an idea. If you've got a fast scout tank, why not go there in the beginning of the game, just fly to the center? If the enemy team has a lot of slow tanks, I bet you can make it. And that's going to be one of my future goals for 2018. It's going to be to see how far I can get to maybe to those bushes over there to get a more advanced spotting position. I don't think it's necessary, but I just want to see if I can do it. You'll notice that I'm not taking up a good position. That's a very bad angle. And you can see that people are taking shots at me. You don't want to have an angle like that, and I repeat my mistake right here. So I took some hits. The score is 8-1. It doesn't matter so much. You can see that they're still firing at that location. I'm going to do a side scraping position. Because it's a rear mounted turret, you can side scrape really well and get a really good angle. Now, even though he becomes unspotted, I'm still going to line up a shot where I think he is and get the kill. Now, obviously, you should always take the shot unless you're firing APCR rounds or other expensive rounds, or if you're low on ammo, you might not want to take the shot. So I have 2 kills, 1,200 damage, 885 spotting damage. The score is 12-2. I decided, instead of chasing after this tank, because I'd have to go around the river, I don't know how to go across the island. Obviously, there are people that do. I decided to be patient and take a chance that he's going to move to one side of the house or the other, because as soon as one flank approaches him, he's going to have to reverse away from them, which allows me to get the kill. And my team are going to hunt out that final SPG. He's up in the A0 area. Unfortunately, I'm too far away to get a shot in. But I wanted to show you that my goal in 2018 is going to be to try to advance further to where that Challenger made it with a fast light tank. And we'll see in the future if I'm able to do it. This tank is the AMX 5120. This is a French Tier 9 heavy tank. It's also an autoloader. The map is Erlenberg. I'm going to get 2 kills, and I'm going to do 2,100 damage. What I like to do with this tank is I like to head, on this particular map on this side, is I like to head south past the bridge area. If you're a beginner, I recommend stopping at the bridge. At that area, there's a lot of places to hide, there's a lot of solid cover, and there's a lot of bushes. But if you have the skill to go a little bit further, you might want to go a little bit further, even though it's not really that much necessary. From the bridge area, and even from here, you can do excellent spotting from this location. It's too bad I missed that shot. Too bad I missed that shot. Too bad I missed that shot. Okay, time to get out of here. Gonna have to go for a reload probably. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going for the reload, and I'm still advancing. You want to stay as close to the river as possible. Because I'm spotted, I want to be careful and cautious crossing through the gaps. I will spot tanks. As you can see, we've spotted some tanks over there. But the problem is, there are buildings in the way, and it's going to be very difficult to shoot at them over the building. So you have to find the perfect location. And there are locations out there, especially if you have a low-profile tank. You can see that a Scorpion G is riding with me. So that's why I say you have to go past the bridge. The reason why is because once you get past that bridge, you're going to have more open shots on the enemy. So I missed my chance to hit that E100. Unfortunately, I bounced 2 shots on him. Oh, so sorry. At least I got 2 good shots in on this WZ. But unfortunately, he took out my Scorpion G ally. When you do play in this position, you can see that we did win on the west side. You have to be very aware of situational awareness. If you see a light tank heading towards the center, even if they're not heading directly towards you, they'll head further south and then they'll head north. You have to know that they're coming and you have to reposition. They're only going to do so much. If they don't find you where they expect you to be, there's a good chance they'll give up because they have a fear of playing in the position also. Unfortunately, I'm playing on a side where we don't have a lot of team support. So I am spotting a lot of tanks. I did get 1,200 spotting damage. However, it could have been a lot more if we had more guns on our side. Now, what that guy did was really dumb. The T-34 never should have done what he did. I'm just going to sit here and reload. Whichever way he goes, I'm going to go the opposite. He's being surrounded. He's pointing his gun at me. I'm not going to go out in front of him. I'm just going to sit there and wait, watch around the corner. Finally, he's pointing his gun away. I got 1 kill. I got the time. I often aim for the ammo rack. So I got a full reload of 4 shots. I did 1250 damage, 1450 spotting damage. The score is 12-4. You can see our entire team is heading to the last known position of the remaining 2 enemy tanks. And fortunately, I'm near the front of the pack, and I get 4 shots. So there's a good chance I'll get 1 more kill. So I did get 1 more kill, got 1,400 damage. And I don't care at this point if I take any damage. And that's the game. This tank is the AT-15A. This is a British Tier 7 tank destroyer, and the map is Overlord. I am going to get 3 kills, and I'm going to do 2,200 damage in this game. What's important is to note the matchmaking. It's a 3-5-7 matchmaking templated game. And this is a failed template. And unfortunately, I'm going to show you how to expose this template. If you are on the top tier, you have stronger guns and stronger armor than any of the other tanks in the game. So what you can do is you can go around very quickly and push very hard and just destroy as many tanks as possible. And that's what I'm going to do in this game. And unfortunately, the company that makes World of Tanks, Wargaming, they're very slow to make changes to things like the matchmaker, and I don't believe that they've learned their lesson. They have the 2-tier spread. You've got Tier 7 and Tier 5 in the same battle, and it's a huge mistake. Nobody likes to be low tier in a battle against higher tier tanks. 1 tier isn't that bad, but a 2-tier spread is way too much. And people are going to, and the 3-5-7 only ensures more that people who know the trick take advantage of the matchmaker and abuse the system. So what I'm going to do is I'm not even going to care if I get spotted. They're all weaker tanks. They're not going to damage me. He's not a weaker tank, but he's still not going to damage me. I'm well armored. He's not going to penetrate me. It's too bad that that shot missed. Did not penetrate me. That one did not penetrate me. So I took 115. I took 141 damage. All those noises are meaningless. They're not penetrating me. See, he took off, and I lost sight of one of those tanks. Now I'm going to just keep on going and just plow through and shoot at everything that's in front of me. Score's already 5-0. So the IKV, the last tank that we saw, he crashed. He's out of the game. The T-67 that shot at me, he's dead. So 2 of the tanks that were in front of me are already dead. The ISU, he's not on the mini-map anymore. He's dead. I don't see a Hellcat on the mini-map. The Hellcat might still be in the game, but I'm not sure. There he is. Now, obviously, it's easy to fix the matchmaker, and that is to not use the 357 system. It's a failed system. And this is not the first video that I've done that exposes the 357 matchmaker issue. There was another one that I did on Ruinberg with a Chrysler K. Now, one thing that you do have to do is you have to be aware, where are the tanks that could possibly be a threat to you? There's a Leo in the game who's got a stronger gun than his allies. But he's now out of the game. So there's one more enemy tank that I'm worried about on the enemy team, and I've only taken 105 damage so far, and I've been just driving out in the open. It's possible that the other tank is a T-29, but I'm not sure. One thing you can do, when you shoot for SPGs, you can fire at their gun. They're weakly armored, and if you damage the gun, they can't fire. And you'll notice that I was aiming for his gun when I took that shot. So there's the T-29. Scores 13-5. I did 2,200 damage, 1,090 blocked by armor, 660 spotting damage. Now, what mistake did the enemy make? The enemy, T-29, should have pushed forward and been more aggressive, along with the Leo and the other Tier 7 on their team, and maybe they would have done more damage, but they're unaware of the 357 matchmaking problem, and they did not take advantage of it. As you can see here, I have an ally that needs help, and I need to hit that tank, so I'm going to aim as far away from my ally as possible. And I was able to make the hit. You can rewind it and watch it again to see how I positioned it. But basically, what I did was I made sure that the circle, the aiming circle, he was outside of the aiming circle, so it was safe for me to take the shot. This tank is the M40/M43. It's an American Tier 8 SPG, and the map is Siegfried Line. This game is going to show the importance of map positioning and situational awareness, and we're going to have an epic kill at the end of the game. There's two allied SPGs on my team, the M53 and the T92. Both of them are going to die, and they're going to die because of poor situational awareness. They're not going to heed repeated warnings. What's going to happen is eventually the field is going to become clear, and an enemy light tank is going to come running through the field to hunt us down, and I'm going to notify my allies repeatedly. I'm going to say, you know, there's a light tank coming, you should move, and they're not going to move, and the light tank is going to kill 3 of the tanks out in the field because they ignore the threat. But I'm going to reposition, and I'm going to not only survive, but I'm going to get that epic kill at the end of the game. Now notice the position that I took up. You can see it on the mini-map. The reason why I took this position is because I can shoot down the alley through the center of the map where the Oho just died. I will get, usually Yag Tigers will show up over there. I can hit the TDs that are up on the hill. I can hit anybody that's out on the field or anyone that tries to leave the city area. And I can also hit enemy SPGs. So if the enemy stays within the city blocks, they're safe. But if they go into any of the open areas, I should have a good shot on them. For example, you see that there's an enemy Type 4 Heavy. If he heads south around the block to go after one of my allies, I'll be able to take shots at him. Now that enemy disappeared, but I see others spotted, and I chose to change targets because it's better to go after a spotted target than someone that isn't spotted. Now that Sheridan that's up here in the north, in this northern area. He's the one that's going to come hunting after us. And he's going to get a couple of kills on for his team, even though they're going to lose the game. Now, the reason why I'm moving closer is because I see that my team has moved further into the city, and I want to be closer because it allows my shots to be aimed faster, and it gives me more accuracy. I'm going to have a smaller aiming circle, so I want to move closer to the city. I'm using the white circle, and I'm making sure that the enemy is always outside of the white circle, which means that they won't be able to spot me. Now, notice that the Sheridan is right at the edge of my white circle, and now I see that we no longer have defenses for the field. We do have the Ram, Borsig, Waffenträger. However, so that was a hit. I hit that tank even though he wasn't spotted. The Ram, unfortunately, is going to get killed by the Sheridan. So at this point, I've decided that I'm going to move. I'm going to take my final shots. And I know that I have a little bit of time before that Sheridan comes out. But I'm also trying to wonder, how quickly is that Sheridan going to come out? Is he going to come out right away, or is he going to support his team? And I realized, you know, he hasn't shown up in the city. So he's probably going to go field, and I have a limited amount of time left. Got a nice hit on that tank. You see the USA flag on my tank. I put the USA emblem on some of my tanks. So I decided to head south. You see the Sheridan showed up in the northwest, and he is going after the Ram Borsig. I am notifying my team by pinging the map of the Sheridan's location, and I typed a message, SPG, go east now. They're going to completely ignore me, or they're going to wait, do too little too late. And I'm pinging the map. I'm pinging the location of the SPG, where I think they should go. It is ambiguous. When you ping an enemy, an allied tank and another location, they might think that there's an enemy threat there. I'm also typing again to my allies that they should go east, and they're going to ignore it, and unfortunately they're both going to die because of it. So I decided to take one shot, because obviously the M53 is going to die before I do. And that was a wild shot. I did not aim it properly. So now the Sheridan showed up, and the M53 is finally deciding to move. The T-92 is still remaining in the same position. So now I have a different strategy. Okay, so we just lost my SPG. My strategy now is to wait until the Sheridan gets spotted by the SPG. Now the SPG that died is saying a little too late in the chat. Well, he had adequate warning. He should have moved. So now that the Sheridan was just spotted, I'm going to go in and try and take a shot while still trying to run away. The score is 14-10. And he disappeared. I only got one shot, and I missed. I did stun him. So he did evade my shot. He's going to take that SPG out of the game. I'm going to head for that city. When you have this type of a tank that's not a strong tank, very difficult for me to fight. The chances of me killing this Sheridan is very small. The capping is something that any tank can do equally. So even if you're in a weak position, you can cap. I'm going to turn around, take some aim on this Sheridan. He's going to disappear. And without being fully aimed, I'm going to take a shot right there. And I get the kill. And that's the game. This tank is the Lorraine 155-51. This is a French Tier 8 SPG, and the map is Erlenberg. I am playing on the north side, and I'm going to be taking up my first position. I want to get as close to the enemy as possible. I did get spotted, so I have to change my path. We're going to see some incoming artillery fire. You don't want to knock down any trees. The artillery missed me. However, remember that I was spotted and the artillery was shooting at me. He knows I'm here, and he's going to take another shot at me. So I did something really foolish, which you're going to see in a moment. I took my first shot, did 348 damage, but what I forgot is that the enemy artillery was watching for me, so he probably saw my tracer go out. It's going to be very easy for him to find me. Being able to have two enemy tanks near each other is an ideal situation to land the shot in the middle. It's very rare that you're going to see like 5 in one spot. You know, that just doesn't happen. But to see 2, or in this case 3, very good for you, very stupid for the enemy. Or in this case 4, very good for me, or in this case 5, or in this case 6. 6 enemy tanks all bunched up in one area. Very dumb for those enemy players. They should be aware that there's SPG in the game and that they're going to be easy targets. This type of grouping is an SPG magnet. Now remember, the enemy SPG knows that I'm in this location. He hasn't taken any shots at me since I first evaded him, since I first got spotted. I've still got some nice shots on these tanks. And they're still grouping up. It's very bad. If you're a regular tank player, you want to avoid doing that. Stunning is something that you don't want to have happen. Okay, so I just got hit by the GW Panther. So I know that he knows where I am. And I turned my hull. I turned the hull of my tank. And I just turned it again. I know that I have to move. So I got another shot on a group. I'm going to move. Be careful not to hit any trees, although I did hit a tree. But when you hit a tree, it also confuses the enemy. If you hit a tree, you want to run far away. Sometimes I knock down a tree on purpose, just so that the enemy thinks that I'm in that location, and then go far away. Now I'm not going to have to worry about that enemy SPG for the rest of the game. Now, as I'm aiming, you're going to look for low hit point tanks, and you're going to look for tanks that have weak armor, which will be lower tier tanks, and you're going to look for any sort of a grouping. If you can see 2 tanks next to each other, you're going to also try for those. Not necessarily so you can hit 2 with 1 shot, but so it increases the chance that you hit one of them. Normally what I would do is I would pick one of the tanks. I don't try and hit in between unless they're really close. And always go for the middle tank. If there's 3 tanks, I'm going to aim for that middle tank in case my shot goes wild. Now, the enemy is getting close to our base, so I have to reposition. And don't just do it with a fast SPG. No matter what SPG you have, you want to reposition on a regular basis. So as I'm reloading, I'm taking another position. You'll notice that the GW Panther is also repositioning. And then once you get down to a 10-second reload or 12 seconds, you're going to turn around and take another shot. And you're assuming that within that 12 to 10 seconds, you're going to find a new target and aim in. And now because I fired, I'm going to reposition again. The GW Panther is still in the game. Unfortunately, I don't see him on the minimap for some reason. You can see the score is 11-7. Something very interesting is going to happen here. My team is going to need me, but the enemy is hiding behind the houses. So what I'm going to do, we've got a Tiger P and a VK. One of which is a tier 9 tank. They're both heavy tanks. And I don't have a lot of faith in my team. I'm not convinced that my team's going to be able to take these tanks out. They've got near full health. We've got a T10 who's not in a good position, and he looks like he's on the island, which there's no reason why he should be on that island. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take up a position lining up along the river so that I can hit those tanks even though they're behind the houses. And again, I'm watching my reload, and once it gets down to 10 seconds, I'm going to go in and see if I can take a shot. Even if you can stun those tanks, it will help your team. You'll notice that the Type 59 got a little close, but because I teed up a mark on the map, he knew that an incoming shot was about to happen, so he veered away as I had my incoming shot. So it does help your team out. Okay, so I got 1,600 damage, 262 spotting damage, and that's the game. And I just want to show you the importance of having map awareness, selecting tanks, and look at where I ended up on the mini-map. And compared to the starting point, move around on the map no matter how slow your SPG is. Look at my allied SPG. He moved around also to get the best shooting position and to stay away from the enemy. This tank is the GW Tiger P. This is a German Tier 8 SPG, and the map is Erlenberg. I am going to do 2,300 damage. I'm going to get the second highest damage for my team. But what's important is you're going to see some good SPG positioning. Now, if you look at the way that I'm going, I'm trying to find a spot where I can shoot either on the east side or the west side without having any buildings in front of me. And obviously, I'm not taking the fastest way to get there. It's difficult to make those shots that go over over the hill. But you can see that we do have some targets that are going to be showing up soon. Like that T-34 is going to be a lot easier to hit him, especially because he's next to another tank. Well, there were two next to each other. Oh no, they're still both there. Now the reason why I take up this position is because you want to be as close to the enemy as possible. It allows you to aim faster and it makes your shot more accurate. You'll have a smaller aiming circle. There is another position that I recommend. I'm going to have so many hits over here on this guy. He's not going to have a happy day. Now, I did have to pull forward a little bit because my tank is not on level ground. Because it's not on level ground, it's not going to always be able to hit every position. The other spot that I recommend is being inside the castle on the west side. I get a lot of good shots from within the castle. Because he's moving, I have to aim in front of his vehicle. I did 450 damage, and plus I had two critical hits. Now with the Black Princes, he's going to be a little bit more difficult to hit. I'm also working on a mission which is to do 3,000 stun damage, but I'm not going to complete it in this game. There are other positions. Yeah, that's a funny one right there. There are other positions that you can use on this side of the river and the other side of the river where you can aim in both directions and have a clear shot. However, the more north you go, the more risk you take. That was likely a hit on that tank. It didn't show any splash from the shot. Most SPG players like to play along the red line, and the big disadvantage is, number one, they don't necessarily choose the best position for firing, and number two, they're further away, which means, of course, that their shot's going to be less accurate, and they have to take longer to aim. I have a very small aiming circle, which means that, oh, look at that, 445 damage plus 3 critical hits. So my shot, even though he's in the backfield, I was able to get a very accurate shot against him. You always want to look for situations where the tanks are close together. You can see that I'm marking on the map where I plan to shoot, so that my allies know that there's an incoming shot. You don't want those tanks like that STRV. He's on low health. You don't want him to do something risky, so I'm sending him a reminder that I'm about to give him some artillery support. I could easily take that tank out of the game. I am getting between 325 and 445 damage per shot. He's below my current minimum, and he's definitely below the average. So I'm notifying my team, pressing the T button, that there's another incoming shot. And then I press it again a second time to notify the team that there is still an incoming shot. The first time was just a warning shot, a warning because I hadn't finished reloading. You know, it takes a long time to reload. It could easily be, I don't know, 40 seconds that they have to wait. So sometimes I tee it up twice. That was a mistake. Basically what happened was the enemy tank reversed, and I fired the shot assuming that he was going to continue to go forward. You can see that my ally on low health did go forward, and he was killed by a Chinese tank destroyer. All he had to do was sit there for the entirety of the game, and he would have helped me out by keeping that Black Prince proximity spotted. He would have gained assistance points. He would have stayed alive. If I were playing his tank, that's what I would have done. I just would have kept that tank spotted and nothing more. And I would never have gone out because the Black Prince is obviously on full health. And he's got support in the back. Notifying my team that a shot's coming in. Aiming in front of the tank. Not doing as much damage against the Black Prince as I did against the 110 or the Jackson. Now I got to help my ally out. Because I've got a close range, I've got a very small aiming circle. I'm going to aim for the rear of the Black Prince if my ally is still alive. Okay, so we've got 2 more tanks left in the game. I've already done 1,800 damage. He's out of the game. And I did get 279 stun damage. Now remember, I did have a shot that I said I think it was a hit, and because there was no splash, that was another 450 damage that doesn't show up in the current counter. And that's the game. Yeah, hi, this is Dave from Cheapbooks. That's the end of today's videos. I'm going to use this time to tell you some things about my channel that you may have missed. Number one, a lot of my videos have tactical information, strategy, how to play, techniques, etc. If you look for the past year or two, you're going to find lots of information about how to angle, positions to snipe, how to spot, etc. You're going to find that there's more information, more things that you can learn watching my videos than usually from watching videos from other people. Another thing that I have is I do some testing. For example, I did some testing how to set the engine on fire, and I discovered the proper way to do it. There's a video that explains how to do it. It's scientifically done. And I do videos about HE rounds. There's a lot of videos about HE rounds. I do a lot of spotting videos that show spotting techniques, how to spot advanced spotting positions. I'm a frontline player, so I'm almost always at the front of the team. I do a lot of flanking videos, and the flanking videos show you how to hit the sidearm or how to get behind the enemy. And the reason why I do that is because in the matchmaking, sometimes you're on the lower tier and you got to hit the enemy on the side or the rear. So I learned how to do all the different flanking on different maps. I'm very aggressive. I like to play in the center. From the center, you can shoot in all directions, but it's very dangerous. So if you like to see very advanced, aggressive gameplay, advanced tactics and techniques, my videos are the ones to watch. I'm also going to ask if you enjoy my videos, please subscribe to the channel. It's very important because I don't have a lot of subscribers, and by not having a lot of subscribers, there's very little justification for all the time it takes to put into a video. It took me over 6 hours to make today's video. And that's not the gameplay. I mean, that's just recording all the videos and reviewing everything. It took over 6 hours. And that's a lot of my time. So if you'd like to see more, like the video, subscribe to the video, ask any questions, leave some comments, and we'll answer your questions and comments. Okay, so that's it, and I hope you enjoy the videos, and good luck.